Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 6 of Shadow and Bone. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, obviously, you have Alina being locked in a box, and she ended up... I thought it was a pretty dope way of using her light to amplify it through that magnifying glass or that glass, and just ended up popping the lock. Well, with her knife, she ended up breaking the lock. Get out. Lo and behold, the trio is waiting for you. It's like, hey, we can't let you go anywhere. But hey, obviously you wanted to get out of Ravka. We can help you, blah, 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 blah. But she knows she can't trust him. It's like, I'm not going to be a captive again. But Cass is like, I'm not going to let you go anywhere. So, Alina uses her powers. But luckily, Inej was able to kind of block it time because it's interesting despite his circumstances. I guess when it comes to the quick draw, his Jesper's reaction time is unbeatable, but I guess because Inej is, but she's got naturally good reaction time, just I guess with her skill set and everything. So she kind of blinded herself, covered her eyes in time, and so she sees Alina and just kind of lets her go, almost kind of bows her head because it's no, she's the sun summoner. I got to let her go. She's too important. And even Kaz later on confronts her about it. It's why'd you do that? And for him, he's so in disbelief. He's like, no, this is BS. It's basically that's the good part of a con, making you believe so hard. And even Inej is kind of I get that you're cynic, but your cynicism and everything, but it's why, and that's the thing, maybe it has something to do with his upbringing or whatever, but I guess it's for him, it's why believe in a saint? Why believe in something so mystical? Because I guess because he grew up in a life where it's our lives, even your circumstances is such BS. Why believe in something, some holier power than? It's no, there was nothing and no one there to help me under my circumstances, which I'm assuming deals with Pekka and potentially his family getting wiped out and you being so there's nothing good that came from no saints here to kind of look after us. So I think that's why he has the perspective he does. But obviously, it's we kind of need to get her, because if we don't, it's all going to blow away. And it's because at first she's oh, what are you going to do? Sell me back, give me back to Helen or something? It's no, because then she's going to get the crow. And it's wait, why would she get the place? And it's he doesn't answer and walks away. She's what did you do? And it's so even Jesper and Inej didn't find out what he did. Either the argument could be well, the fact is that he put it up because he needs Inej, and he once again gambled everything on the job. Once again, Helen said you're going to be the reason why you potentially, it's up to you to lose everything, and kind of in that position right now. That's why this job is so extra important. But once again, the fact is he didn't tell Inej and Jesper. Once again, it seems there's stuff that Jesper knows that Inej doesn't, so we don't 100% know. It might be a thing of Jesper is aware, it's just Inej that wasn't. At the same time, well, actually, I think it's earlier in the episode, it might even been in the beginning, where Arkin is being interrogated, and it's oh, he's trying to lie his ass off, but it's you literally shouldn't lie. There's no point in lying when there's a freaking heart renderer nearby to be able to read your heart. It's oh, this and this was true, that everything else, complete another BS. So... But it's he knows exactly who Arkin is the moment he sees Arkin's sleeve. It's oh, you're the conductor. You have been sneaking basically it's you've been sneaking my Grisha out, because it's those who are avoiding the war effort. So it's you're kind of stealing my men from me. He's no, I don't do that. I do people. It's don't lie to me. I know your whole shtick and your whole deal. And it's right. It's he made a deal with Kaz, but then he made a deal with Zlatan. He's the dude that's in control in the West, who's, and it kind of confirmed what I brought up last episode, that they want the Sun Summoner dead, because as long as Ravka is divided the way it is, it presents them the opportunity to kind of run things the way they want to, because of keeping the fold up keeps them in a position where they have the leverage necessary to, do the whole rise up to be the sovereign and everything. Because I was wondering whether, whether Arkin already made that deal with Zlatan, but it's he made that deal after he had already met with Kaz. Because apparently it's yeah, we're going to get 1 million split 4 ways, but it's oh no, he was going to give me that just to kill, or maybe even half that, the meal to kill. I don't remember what he said, but he's going to get paid more to kill her. And now he's trying to spin it by like, hey, the fact of the matter is, you give me half of that, dude, I will turn on that, and like I could get close to him for you. He's like, nah, I'm gonna do it myself. And so he ends up. I'm curious what happens, what he necessarily does, because it seems like he was choking Arkin, but like what exactly Kiergan did when he brought the darkness around him. It's like, is he suffocating him? Is he choking him? Is the darkness literally eating him? It sounded like it was like straight up choking him, but you don't know, like, how does that work? Is it strangling him? Is it just kind of making it so that, like, no air can get through, he can't breathe? Like, how does that work? It's kind of a mystery, I guess. But obviously, like, there's also the thing with Zoya, where she's, like, playing the role of, like, oh, like, Alina? Like, who's to say she got kidnapped? She might have, like, been rescued. Like, the fact that she might have gone on. To be fair, Zoya wants her out of the picture. She's always wanted her out of the picture, because also, like, because of Alina, she got sent away, so I'm sure that rubbed her the wrong way. I'm sure she really didn't appreciate. I didn't talk about it last episode, but her showcasing her abilities and everything, and all those people in awe of her, really, you know, it rubbed Zoya the wrong way. But Zoya uses this as an opportunity, because, like, despite everything, like, the fact is, I used to basically be the one that can comfort you, like, despite when you're stressed and stuff like that, when your bed is neat and your table is messy or something like that, I was the one that could, like, help calm you and stuff like that, take your mind off of things. And then he's like, I'll be calm again when we get Alina back. So it's like, yep, you're not that special anymore. And she gets super frustrated. She uses her powers and kind of swirls some shit up in, like, his room and kind of, you know, use her squalor abilities and kind of, like, cause some, like, wind around. So it's like, ooh, you're not too happy about these current circumstances. So I thought that was kind of a fascinating development on that front. So you had the whole situation with Fedor, you know, talking to Kiergan about Nina's circumstances, about, like, yeah, she was kidnapped by the Fjordans. In particular, it was like the witch hunter Matthias. No, I think it's Matthias. And it's like he's going to go try and find her. And it's like, for one, it's like, any of our people you find, bring them back. But if you can't, bring me one of theirs. So, and it's like, well, Ivan, I need him to come with me. So Fedor's like, if she's there, I'll rescue her. Which we have Kiergan roll into town, and it's like, you know, they had set up the alarm system to let them know, like, okay, here he is. He, the moment, like, the carriage gets opened up, it causes, like, a big bang. It's like, all right, we got to get out of here. Let's split up. And just as they leave, and Nej and that Inferni end up meeting eyes, and it's the sister of the Inferni she killed last episode. It's like, you know, because those are twins. And so she immediately recognizes, I think, because of the knife, she see it on Nej, and remember the knife that was, like, left in her brother, I guess. And so ends up chasing. They all go their separate ways. And it's interesting, like, each one of them kind of gets stuck with, like, a Grisha to deal with. And so, well, let's start off with a Nej's situation. She's able to kind of handle that to a certain extent against this Inferni, and it's also the thing of, like, I'm sure it plays a role in it, like, in the fight, that she isn't trying to go for the kill, even though, like, the Inferni is, just because it's like, because she killed Home Dude last episode because she didn't have much of a choice. She was protecting Kaz. So under these circumstances, it seemed like she's like, it's kind of like a defending yourself, and it looks like you could go for the kill, but it doesn't seem like you're going all the way for it. So she ends up getting the poor lady, because it's like, well, she's so pissed off right now. She's not cool, calm, and collected. But it's also like you're going up against one of the stealthiest people, Inej. So Inej gets the dagger in her, and it's like, okay, I wait till a healer's nearby before I pull this out, or you will bleed to death. But she was like, fact is, go ahead and leave me alive. Like, the fact of the matter, it's, oh, you Sully, or blah, 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 like, trying to be offensive. But it's like, I'm going to come after you, and I'm going to kill everyone you care about, and then I'm going to kill you. And she's like, well, if that's the case, I'm going to take back my knife, and ends up killing her. Because that's what, like, changes everything. Because why she killed for the first time last episode, to protect Kaz. And it's like, you're not going to hurt the people I care about. So, so should have kept her mouth shut, but it's like, yeah, also, like, she's vindictive, because it's like, right, you killed my brother and everything, so she wasn't going to let that go. which I'm sure that's also another reason why, because it's like, obviously Inej felt bad about killing him. Also, it's like, she understands what it's like to lose your brother. Granted, her brother's potentially out there, she just doesn't know where he is. So I'm sure that plays an aspect to that whole situation, why she kind of felt even more bad for her, but still, it's survival of the fittest. Then you had Jesper's situation, and it's like he's going up against Ivan, who can, but I think it's also like he can hear Jesper's heartbeat, but I think it's also because Jesper can get like super calm and collected. So like it's like, all right, every time Jesper shoots him, you know, it's like, oh, like the fact is this Kefka, it protects me from bullets, didn't you know? And he's like, oh, I love a challenge. And every time he keeps ricocheting the bullets to hit the same spot, it's like, oh, you can do that, but it's not going to do anything. And he ends up at the end ends up firing one more shot, and it does hit, because, you know, it's like, once again, that's like, let's be frank, that's some like Wanted stuff, like something from you'd see from the movie Wanted, specifically, yeah, the movie and not the comic book. But yeah, like hitting the spot over and over again, you break through like the protection of it. So, and when the time came, that kid was nearby, so it's like, all right, I'm a bit of a softy, so I'm not going to kill you. And he's like, and then like Jesper like knocks him out, and he's like, you should have stopped talking or whatever. And I'm like, what was that about? Like, because it's something that's been crossing my mind for a little bit. I'm like, are we going to find out that Jesper is a Grisha? Just like the fact is his skills are like super unnatural. I mean, Inej is really good, but it seems like there's like no like I don't see her being a Grisha, but it's like, I guess it's just like her trained skills, and he could just be a trained shot. But like there are moments, like the one that kind of clicks in my head is when he killed that Volkra when they were crossing in the train, and it closed his eyes. Also, like, just like how steady his aim is in that moment, that I'm like, there's got to be something to that. Like, Ivan was about to say something, but it's like either Grisha or something else. Like, what we know nothing about Jesper. Whether Kaz does, who knows? But Jesper's an enigma. So it's like I said, he's all fun and games until the time he gets serious, and he can be deadly. And I like that aspect about his character. So there's that avenue with it. And then you have Kerrigan confronting Kaz, knowing exactly who he is, because I guess they got enough research on him to know who they are. Or I wonder, did he know just the moment he met him? I think it was probably just like research ahead of time. But I love that when it was all said and done, he was asking all this information. And it's like, yeah, and says like, oh no, we didn't actually kidnap her. She actually wanted to leave. She didn't want to be a captive again. And hearing those words actually pissed Kerrigan off to the point he was like, oh, I'm going to kill you. And just when he's like summoning up his like darkness to slice Kaz throws down like a smoke bomb or a light bomb or whatever, and is able to get away. And I love like when you pop back to see that Kaz is going, like the barrel's been cut, like the stone on the wall has kind of been like sliced as well. So like, wow, that was fast acting on his part. I guess he was able to kind of disperse the darkness enough with the light from the bomb that the blade went past him and missed him, maybe, or maybe he ducked in time too. So it was like a combination of the two. So because I was so curious how Kaz was going to handle that. Once again, crafty dude, always prepared for something, I suppose. But because for them it's a situation of they're kind of deciding like, we might as well just run. It's like, wait, we're not even going to worry about the girl anymore. It's like, it's just, you know, with Kerrigan on their heads, it's like, we just might as well run. So they end up taking this carriage because like Inej won't be able to ride horseback, having been wounded from the fight with the Inferni. So they just kind of also love the whole David thing of like him throwing a book at Jesper, and they end up knocking him out, and Jesper being like, he threw a book at me. And so they end up taking off. I didn't realize it was David that got left behind and stuff like that. But he ends up pointing out because of the... I also love the thing of like, it's like, oh, what are we going to do? Because it's like, well, you know, she isn't with them. Alina isn't with them. So what are we going to do trying to track her? I would let them be. It's like, first and foremost, we got to find Alina. And I love like David kind of raises his hand, and then you have Kerrigan's like, you don't have to... Yes, David. He's like, fact of the matter is, Jenya gave her a ring, like, you know, that, you know, was fabricated. So it's like, you get me close enough, I'll be able to find her. So it has to be within, like, I think he's at like a mile radius or something like that. So there's that. Speaking of some other angles in the episode, we have the whole, what was it? Nina and Matthias, situation. It seems like, from what we see, it seems like they're the only ones that survived off the boat. And it's like, well, of course they would be. She uses her power to kind of resuscitate him. And it's like, oh, like maybe I'm saving you just because I'm a good human. It's like, no, because you need me with my strength to be the one that pushes us to shore. And she's like, fine, but you do that. Yes, that's another thing of like, we help each other. I keep you warm. I keep your heart pumping, keep you warm, keep us both from dying, and you swim us to shore. And lo and behold, they get to shore. And then we find out that Nina can speak Fjorden, and which is interesting because she also points out like, oh yeah, I also speak 6 different languages. It seems like she's kind of like Kiergan's go-to spy. I mean, because she's kind of like a Black Widow type of situation, it seems like. So that's why she seems like, because she's like, yeah, I need to know different languages for my job. Also, it also confirmed, I don't remember if I brought this up in the review. It's definitely something, I think I touched on it. I don't think I fully completed my thought, but I was thinking like the job that she was doing for him was conductor related, because it also led to Zlatan, considering the conductor is connected. But it doesn't seem like he knew at the time about that. He was only looking into the conductor because he knew like, oh, the conductor's like literally slipping my people out of the little palace and getting them across the fold. So he didn't appreciate that at all, because it's like these are soldiers abandoning their duties, like the war effort and all that. So that played a role in, so that's why like Nina's so important. That's what job she was doing. Like she was also playing the role of so she's actually really, I think, a true believer in everything. So it's like she just played the role of the radical just to lure the conductor in, inadvertently it all kind of worked out in the end, because sadly Nina's not there, but it's like, oh, the conductor got caught and dealt with. So one less future nuisance for him to have to deal with in a few. It also makes, getting through, and for any Grisha that want to escape, it makes that kind of impossible now. They have to find like other means to do it now. But obviously, it's like this complicated thing between Matthias and Nina, because it's like he doesn't like her. She kind of plays coy and like flirts with him, and is kind of, as he says, lewd, because she knows it bothers him so much, because he's kind of a bit of a shrew. It's like, come over here and like we got to get close so we can be warm and stuff. It's like, you're not coming over here with those clothes. Don't worry about it. Like Fjorden men don't have anything I haven't seen before or something like that. But then we see her kind of examining and like, oh, caught your eye though, because I guess Fjorden men are kind of just built differently, and it's just like their stature and everything. And it's like, oh wow, looks like oh wow, nice body type of look is what she was giving him when she was eyeing him. And it's like, okay, like they're snuggling up and everything. I love that when she wakes up, his arm is around her, and she's like, oh, this is the part like, oh, you think I'm going to seduce you and stuff like that. It's like, oh, this is the part where I end up having my way with you or something like that. And for him, it's like, I don't like that you keep doing that. We also learned a little bit about the Fjorden situation of like, for them it's like the women kind of stay at home and stuff like that. So it's a very like archaic like perspective, because especially compared to Ravka, where it's like, oh yeah, men and women fight in the army side by side. In this, in Fjord, it's like the women stay home, they kind of take care of things, and the men protect the women. It's like women shouldn't fight or whatever. It comes from a place of chivalry that comes off a little chauvinistic, obviously, but obviously it just shows you like the different worlds they come from. But them kind of laughing and everything like that. But obviously, like, because he does kind of like her, he tries to keep his distance. And she's like, is liking me really that terrible? Like, you realizing I'm not the monster you think I am, that I am human. But for him, it's like, I do like you, but that's what's the problem, because with your powers and everything, how do I know what I'm really feeling for you is really me and not just you using your powers against me? And when the time came and she could have fallen to her death, it's like, what is Matthias going to do? He could easily like just went ahead and killed her, but he didn't. He saved her. And so a bond is getting created there, because just as much as but to be fair, there's also the sad aspect of, well, this could be Nina's playing the long game. It's like her job and everything might come for, because this almost seems like it could be a star-crossed lovers type of thing of like, yeah, well, more so like a Romeo and Juliet thing. It's kind of, well, that still falls under the line of like the star-crossed lovers thing, but it's like, you hope it turns into that. I hope it doesn't get revealed of like, oh, like, you led me here. Like, oh, in actuality, I'm going to fulfill my job because I believe in this cause so much. Just like you believe in your people, I believe in, because she could be the means of, at the very least, if she can change Matthias's heart, him being the witch hunter and everything. I mean, it's going to be, it feels like, honestly, it could be betrayal on any side, but I feel like, considering her circumstances, it feels like because even Nina's joking like, oh, I'm going to like seduce you, oh, like I'm gonna lure you in, and it's like she might be joking, but that might be like, it might be one of those things of like, oh, I'm actually telling you the truth, you just think I'm joking. It might be one of those things. And also there's some possibility Matthias might be pulling her along, but I feel like it might be more of a Nina thing. Once again, it's just like, it seems like it might be part of her job, like kind of, also being a heart render. It's like, yeah, it kind of comes with the territory of kind of stringing people's hearts along. So we'll see kind of where things kind of go on that front. Another aspect to the episode is Alina running into Mal in the woods, and it's like, hey, they're reunited and everything. Obviously she's pissed at him at first because it's like, oh, you didn't respond to me in my letter. He's like, what? I wrote you letters all the time, you never respond to mine. She's like, oh, really? And it's like, yes. And it's like, obviously, I don't think she still pieces it together like they both were kept out of contact from each other. This obviously, once again, solidifies it, but we kind of already knew that for a couple episodes now. Like, right, Mal never getting any of her letters, him never getting any of her letters, her never getting any of his. But then, like, finding out, all Mal's done to get back to her. And it kind of she's hit with a little bit of regret because she looks at her hand and the wound's not there. Because we also get a little explanation of, like, he's like, you lied to me. She's like, what, you thought I knew I was a Grisha? And she's like, He's like, yeah, because you wounded yourself during the test, so it's like you had to know. She's like, no, I didn't know. Like, I was just a surprise. I just didn't want to take the chance if I was found out to be a Grisha, which I didn't know, if I was found out to be one. It's just a thing of, like, their insecurities kind of played a role because they were kept away from each other. Once again, that was kind of the point, so they didn't have time to kind of, like, really talk things out, But, once again, I don't think she's aware of the fact is of, like, once again, that element of, like, oh, him getting thrown into prison just to be close to her. That flashback we got, like, I still don't think she knows, like, how much Mal does to be close to her. But it is a situation of, like, it's there to a certain extent, like, the feelings between them. It's very apparent, but they're not kind of going all the way. Eventually, it's a situation where it's like, well, we need to keep warm and not die. So she's generating, like, the light, and he's touching it. And, for her, it's like, are you scared of it? He's like, no, I'm not scared of that. And she's like, are you scared of me? He's like, no, like, why would you think that? And for her, it's like, I saw it in your eyes. It's just, for him, it was just a situation, I think, when it comes down to, I actually don't remember his exact wordings, like, what his response to that was. I think it was just, for him, it was just a thing of, like, everything was kind of changing and she was kind of slipping away from him to a certain... No, I remember now. His explanation was, I didn't see you for who you were before, but he's like, I see you now. I see all of you now. And I accept all of that, all of you. It's like, because obviously he had his beef with Grisha before, and now it's like, oh, like, if you found out now, did you know that I'm a Grisha? Like, are you afraid of me? And it's like, no, like, I finally see you, Alina, for who you are in in totality. So I thought that was kind of a nice moment. Obviously, there's also the element of, like, the conversation of, right, does Kiergan know where the stag is? I gave him a rough area, but he doesn't know the exact area, because for Mal, it's like, oh, we could get to the fold and we can run and disappear, no one will find us. But Alina, it's like, no, I gotta find the stag first. We can't let him get the stag because they would give him too much power. With the stag's power, I could potentially bring down the fold, and this could change everything. I could save so many lives, so gotta find that stag first. But there's also that conversation as they're walking. It's like, he's like, oh, you look healthy. You look good. I mean, he's like, I mean healthy. It's like, it's there. They're just, neither one of them is kind of taking the dive. But then, like, that conversation makes Alina think of something. She's like, that's how he stays so young. And because she's saying that basically using her powers has kind of given her more of an appetite and kind of made her healthier. And she's like, oh, that's how. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, what does that necessarily mean? She figured something out, but we never got an explanation. And she's like, well, that's what he's planning on doing. So I'm like, so my thought is, like, either it's kind of implying, like, the more he uses his power, the younger he remains, or it's kind of implying, like, maybe he's trying to devour her powers so that he can remain young. Maybe that's what he does. He devours Grisha, or maybe just people in general, and he stays young. But, like, the way she was, like, responding with the fact is that using her power made her healthier, maybe it's kind of implying, like, maybe his power is the same. Because that was what I brought up last episode. We still don't understand, like, how the, Bagra nor Kiergan have like immortality. But there's also the thing of like, because he was like, Mal was like, oh, who's Alexander? And it's like, oh, General Kiergan. She's like, I made a lot of stupid mistakes. He's like, whatever you did in the palace, I'm not going to hold that against you. He's like, you did what you had to do. And he's like, I just want to protect you. I just want to make sure you're safe. For him, that comes first and foremost beside anything else, you know? So it's like, oh, I like that there's no like animosity there. Knowing, well, he doesn't know. Like, obviously, he kind of cut her off a bit before learning anything. But I'm sure Kiergan's going to throw that in his face later on to kind of start some stuff. But still. Like I said, some interesting developments on that front. Also, now Kiergan's aware that she's reunited with Mal. And also that they're going after the stag. So it's like, we got to get on this quick. You know, so that's definitely going to be interesting. As we kind of race to see who gets to the stag first. And, what that means in the grand scheme of things, like, you know, how this is all going to play out is going to be very interesting. Once again, interesting to see so many, like, 3, like, main storylines. 2 that are heavily converged. Like I said, the Nina thing is kind of like a plot kind of on its own. But obviously it's like, you know, our trio of rogues, like, you know, they did kind of walk away empty-handed, but are they going to cross back over into the storyline? We'll ultimately have to wait and see what their role in all of this is going to play as everything keeps going forward. I'm really interested to see where everything takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.